Hello my gorgeous little sweet peas. Today I'm making a special video for you about extra tips to keep on top of your mental health, because during these challenging times, and goodness knows how long it's going to go on for, we don't know, let's take each day at a time. It's really important, along with last week's videos, take 5 and the one before that, the daily dose. I'm sharing with you all these little tips that are really easy to do on each other, in your bubbles, on yourselves if you're self-isolating, and on yourself regardless of your ability, whether or mobility for that matter. So I'm really trying to make this as inclusive as possible, reading through all my emails and all the different needs. So I really hope somewhere in all of this madness you're going to find a few things that will just help you get through, and they don't take very long. You could spend 5 minutes a day on them, but it will just give you that edge, because I really do feel like I'm fighting this massive battle with mental health, and not just COVID at the moment. It's like, both are huge for me and my area of work, and also for me personally, and my family and the people I love and know. So, and I'm sure it's very much the same for a lot of you out there. So we're in it together, and I'm going to share with you a few tips this week about just trying to keep that edge. If you imagine mental health like a big tidal wave, and what we want to do is stay on top of it, even if sometimes it feels like it's like being in a matchbox in a tsunami. We want to keep on top of it, and we can if we do this every day. Don't forget, if you regularly practice mindfulness or gratitude or a little bit of massage every day, you're putting a new memory into all your trillions of cells, 37.2 trillion cells, and you are also eventually rewiring your actual brain. As I mentioned last week, we grow our own brains. I don't mean physically, I mean within it. So our physical brains stop growing at 18, but what we do with the grey matter around our fear centres, memory and learning, our higher brain functions, is up to us. So always remember, however bad you feel, you are in charge of that. Now, anxiety is obviously huge at the moment for a lot of adults as well. So I'm not just sharing this for children, I'm sharing this for all ages, all different abilities, whether you're neurodiverse, neurotypical, all different mobilities, because we've all got different levels of mobility, and actually all of it is free, and you can do it on each other in your bubbles, or you can self-administer it if you're isolating alone during this tough time. So a lot of anxiety, a lot of our depression initially is really held in the tummy, our second brain. It's where we squash everything down while we try to cope with what, it's like shoving things on the back burner, oh, I'll deal with that later, I can't face that right now. And it's all the stuff, and I don't mean food, that you don't process kind of gets shoved down there, and you can get very blocked. And in babies and young children, toddlers, where they don't have the vocabulary to verbalize how they're feeling, and they haven't got that emotional intelligence yet to recognize or express how they're feeling, that can be expressed often as tummy aches or tummy migraines. I don't know if that resonates with any of you, but I get a lot of calls about that. And the second brain used to be our first brain, actually, before we started really evolving, but that it's got so many neurotransmitters, it could actually run as a totally independent nervous system all on its own, which is quite amazing. So our second or enteric brain, which is the gut, is actually a really vital part of our makeup, our anatomy and physiology. So if we look after our tummies, you're going to be looking after your first brains, and you're going to be keeping just that edge on your mental health. Everything helps. So if you've got a child, for instance, who can't bear having their head touched, or you yourself don't like having your head touched, if you worked on their gut or their tummies, that's a different way around it. Equally, if they don't like having their tummies touched, you can work on their face, because all the meridians down to the gut run down from the head and the face. So from underneath the eyes, for instance, you've got direct meridians down into your tummy. So it's all about what can you look at, what can't you look at, what can you face, what can't you face. You know, it's amazing. It's all in our language, but actually it comes from our deep, deep biological makeup. If you want to know more about the second brain, Dr. Michael Gershon is the leading professor in this field, and he's done 30 years of research on this, and it's fascinating. So if you've got kids who are picky eaters, kids who have got frequent tummy aches, like I said, tummy migraines, cramps, you know, often, and I work with a lot of kids where it's not a tummy ache at all, it's anxiety, it's everything that they're building up here, and they get very, very blocked, as I say. So the first thing I'm going to share with you is if you just put your left hand just underneath your chest, and you just go in little anti-clockwise circles just underneath the breastbone there. I don't suppose it would matter if you did it clockwise. To me, when I go anti-clockwise, it's when I'm reducing things. And when I want to boost things, I go clockwise. I just did that the wrong way around. How embarrassing. Sorry, I must behave. Yes, so we're going anti-clockwise, which is actually this way, because I want to reduce my anxiety. And actually, I can feel in my body that makes a difference. It's just how I work. But if you felt a bit weird doing it anti-clockwise, you could do it clockwise and still have a really good effect. But for me, I want to take my anxiety away. Just do that a few times, and then just put your hands on and just breathe. Your hand will be quite warm where you've been doing your circles. So it's very soothing, very comforting. And often when you put your hands on, they warm up anyway. And it's all that oxytocin, the hormone of love and nurture that links with emotional intelligence, that's being released. They used to say oxytocin was released 40 seconds after touch, but there's new studies out recently which say it actually happens after 20. So after 20 seconds, you've got your first immediate benefit of feeling loved, nurtured, and able to think clearly, to think with perspective, to have that emotional intelligence, because as I said, there's a big link. So that's the first one. The other one you can do is literally, and you could do this clockwise, is do your whole tummy. Just do lovely big circles on your whole tummy, not just your solar plexus below the breastbone where you've got that, it's actually a meeting point of a network of nerves just there under your breastbone. But now we're on the tummy, so we've moved down. And you could do it clockwise or anti-clockwise. As I say, I don't think it makes too much difference. But what I'm doing, the reason I'm personally going clockwise here is because I want to boost the serotonin. And as I keep on saying, you must want to shoot me for saying it so much now. 90% of our serotonin, the neurotransmitter of happiness, confidence, self-esteem, is in the gut. And we've also got more dopamine, the neurotransmitter of focus, attention, reward, motivation, and more serotonin in the gut than in the entire spinal cord. So when we go clockwise, as I said, for me, in my mind, that's increasing, not decreasing. So I want to boost that serotonin and dopamine. I want to get it up the spinal cord. And also push a little bit of blood and oxygen up the spinal cord while I'm at it. So this not only eases the obvious problem of having stomach cramps, stomach pain, those anxious, that horrible whirly feeling when you're really, really, really deeply anxious. It's horrible, it's crippling. So this really, really helps with that. And it helps with your digestive system, obviously, on a physical level. And on a neuroscientific level, it's pushing up those happy hormones and coping chemicals from your gut, which gives anxiety, stress, the stress hormone, the main horrible one, cortisol, a very big smack on the bottom and gets rid of it. Or at least helps you to manage it and get on top of it and have a bit of perspective. Because we all have moments of anxiety, moments of anger, moments of things that we push down. But what we want to try and stop is becoming permanently that way. So an angry person suffering from anxiety, there's a very, very big difference between moments of anxiety and suffering with anxiety. And lots of people self-diagnose that they have anxiety. You know, you really do need a formal GP's, not prediction, oh my goodness me, diagnosis even of anxiety, because it is a very, very, very serious matter, and it does disable people's lives. I've said before in articles and interviews, you know, my second son has autism, But what really disabled him was the anxiety caused to him through various things, but mostly people's ignorance surrounding autism. It gave him such crippling anxiety that then manifested as OCD, which is really an ultimate manifestation of anxiety, and that is what disabled him. You know, it was never his autism that enabled him, but the anxiety did disable him. It was totally disabling to see, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing these tips for free. Even though at the moment I really can't work, I want to share with you, because God forbid any of you walk through that journey that I did with my son. And also, if you're a parent of a child with different abilities, special needs, when you go through these really heartbreaking, terrible, worrying, exhausting times with them, very often you have something which is known as secondary PTSD, because you are in that front line fighting for them all the time. So little exercises on your tummy, that's self-care, basically, in a nutshell. If you can give yourself that self-care, you can stick your hand down the hole and pull someone out of it. If you don't look after you, you'll be in the hole with them, and then you're both pretty stuffed. And it's taken me over 40 years to learn that, so I'm a slow starter, like I was with most things. Anyway, back to our lovely massage tips. So with anxiety, the other thing that can happen is it can really disturb your sleep pattern. It's obvious, you know, we're born with a certain, every day we get a certain dose, a daily dose of serotonin. Now, for those people whose bodies don't make enough of the neurotransmitter serotonin, the hormone of happiness, confidence, self-esteem, they are what we call clinically depressed, and very often they will need medication to get them through. And again, depression, you know, it's because it's not a visible thing, people can very often, if they've never had it, not see that as real. And it's absolutely real, and again, very, very disabling. And at the moment, there are so many people who feel depressed, which is why I want to share this with you today. On that note, be kind. You know, if you know anyone on their own, even if you just ring one person a day, or drop them a text to say, how are you, thinking of you? It's that hand into the hole again, isn't it? It's that light in the darkness. And that can boost their serotonin. Check up on each other. You know, we need to be kind, we need to care. So some of us are born with not enough serotonin each day. We have a natural deficiency of that, which we need medication to help us with. Although all the stuff I share is also a wonderful tool to have to work alongside that. And I do work very much alongside doctors. I'm not holistic, I'm not alternative. I am grounded in science, and as I say, that's why I work alongside doctors and teachers, and I've thoroughly researched on a scientific level every single thing I ever share, because it's important that you can picture it and that you know how and why it's working, and you're in charge of your own healing, you're in charge of your own mental health. I'm not just somebody, you know, floating above you telling you what to do. We're in it together, and so I want to share my knowledge with you. So most of us are born with a daily quota. Now, if you're depressed, very often you then can't sleep. And when you can't sleep, you lose that ability to cope and function quite as well as you were before. So it's a downward spiral. And the reason for that is you're using all your serotonin, stressing about going to sleep. So when you wake up in the morning, you have no serotonin left to face the day. If your bodies don't make enough serotonin, it then doesn't make enough melatonin, the sleep hormone. It's actually the hormone of sleep, mood, and aggression. So, and it's made from serotonin. So you can see, if we don't make enough serotonin, if we don't have enough left over, we don't make enough melatonin, and that massively affects sleep, and then that massively affects the anxiety or depression. So melatonin is actually stored, it's made and stored in the pineal, which in massage you access here. And then you've also got points going up to just before the crown, and this is in traditional Chinese medicine, and they're often known as mama points. They're in yoga as well, they're in shiatsu, they're in several therapies. So we're all coming from the same page. And when you just gently massage, I'll lift my fringe up. So when you just massage, and it doesn't matter which way, anti-clockwise, clockwise, doesn't matter. And just, it's like 2 fingers, finger pad widths apart, and go to just before the crown. Never massage the crown. The reason being, particularly if you have any mental health issue, and especially if it's a long-standing one, the crown in traditional Chinese medicine is known as the meeting point of 100 pathways. So you've got lots of meridians beginning and ending there. So you don't want to go and fiddle around in that, because you could literally send somebody with long-term depression, you could tip them over into psychosis. So I never do anything strenuous on the crown of anybody, ever, because for all I know, they could have an underlying mental health issue. Special needs kids, very often as they approach teenage levels, are 2 to 6 times more likely to pick up an additional mental health issue. So I'm very, very careful never to do anything strenuous, because somebody may not be aware they've had a long-term mental health issue. They may not have been diagnosed yet. So I never do anything strenuous on the crown. Plus, we want to get everything nice and calm. We don't want to liven everything up. So, and I always do it from that, where you, imagine if you had an eye above your real eyes, just there, where your third eye would be. 2 fingers widths up. And just take your time with it. I'm speeding it up for the purposes of this video, but you can do it much more slowly than this. And you're on all those mama points, and then you go back to that third eye again and repeat. And that, as I say, really massively boosts the melatonin, and that will help you sleep better. Really massively make a difference to that. It will help with mood. It will help with aggression levels, which, let's face it, are all a bit like a seesaw at the moment during lockdown 3. You can also do your temples again, which I've shared with you many times on a lot of my videos. Just your finger pads on your temples. It doesn't matter whether you go clockwise or anti-clockwise, you could do both. And it's that soft bit, just either side of your eyes. And that, near the brain, that's the capital city of all the happy hormones and coping chemicals. One of those being serotonin. So serotonin is made and produced in the pituitary, which we access in massage through the temples. And if you boost the serotonin, happiness, confidence, self-esteem, not only will you be in a wonderful, wonderful mood, but you will then make enough melatonin to help you sleep, which is win-win. I've rattled on for long enough. I've shared those 4 tips with you. If you have somebody who doesn't like their face or head being touched, don't forget you can do the tummy, but if possible, do all 4. And it's beautiful, and it adds to this lovely toolkit we've been building together since the new year. So you can have a little try of all of those things from all my different videos, see what suits you, see what suits the people you're working with. We all have favourites, we all have things we don't like so much, and if you're not comfortable with something, leave it out, because it's not going to work for you. And if you don't like administering a technique on somebody, you know, because you don't particularly feel comfortable with that technique, that position, that will translate to them. So go with the flow. Go with what your body is telling you, and you can't go wrong. And on that note, I'm going to leave you alone, because I've probably given you all earache, and I'm going to have to teach you how to massage your ears now. We'll do acupressure points on your feet to stop the earache. So that's enough for me for this week. I really, really hope that's helped. We are in it all together. And if you want to write to me about anything that's concerning you and you'd like a little video on it or some help with it, please contact me at info@therapiesforspecialneeds.co.uk. And you can also find tips and articles on my website, which is www.therapiesforspecialneeds.co.uk. So have a lovely week, everybody. We are going to get through this. I'm determined. I've got my battle armour on. I may be little, but I'm like a little Viking inside at the moment. I'm sending you all hugs, those of you who want them. Illegal, but virtual. So maybe that's okay. I always whisper on my YouTube videos. I think I'm a little bit crazy. Anyway, it's good to have a little bit of nuts, isn't it? Good for you. Full of iron they are. Anyway, take care, my darlings, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.